All right. Good morning. How you all doing? Karibuni sana. Welcome to another episode of the Afriforex Daily Analysis. This first day of April 2025. Hope you're well. Hope you've been keeping up well this long weekend that we did have. But we're glad that you could join us for the Afriforex Daily Analysis this beautiful but chilly morning. So for the sake of guys who are new here, Jambogo is my name. I'm a trader with Afriforex. Afriforex, like we always say, is a trading unit, so it's not a one-man show. So in case you do have any questions, feel free to ask them on the chat box. The team will be getting back to you, but I will also be looking at those questions towards the very tail end of this session. But you don't really need to wait until then, like we always say. You still can ask even as we do continue progressing on. And of course, for the guys who are going to be joining us later on, if you do have any queries, feel free to ask them on the comments section beneath this video, and our team will definitely get back to you. So we're going to jump straight into it. And of course, considering the fact that we did not have a session yesterday, so there isn't going to be much of a recap. But yesterday, that was what the watch list was looking like. In case you missed out on it, then that means you're definitely not in the Telegram channel. So make sure that you also do join. There should be a link in the video description that should guide you there. So we did post that earlier yesterday morning, and hopefully you did get a couple of trades. And of course, you can see moving into today, a couple of changes on the watch list, but we'll see how things end up transpiring. Actually, it's only one change. So we only do have the USD joining the buy side of things. So we'll mix and match up the Australian dollar, the Canadian dollar, and the New Zealand dollar against everything on the buy side. And then we'll move on to the indices and the commodities to see what ends up happening on that front. So also considering the fact that we didn't have a session yesterday, didn't really get any screenshots per se. I don't know if it's because guys were not trading, maybe guys were on a bit of a break. But remember, guys, if we do get any trades, feel free to send them in to us. Contact details are right there in the video description. You can send them in to us via WhatsApp, and we'll definitely give you the much needed shout out. And if we do see something wrong, we'll also point that out for you as well. So we're going to jump straight into today's currency pairs. So we'll start off with the AUD pairs. And the first one off the line is the Great British Pound against the Australian dollar. So for this one, for today, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So these are the three areas that we've mapped out that we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buys. Also areas where we can potentially also end up managing our trades. So right now you can see that the market is coming down. We're getting some sort of a pullback. So we will be expecting to possibly see we could get the market going to the upside, potentially holding above this region to the upside, and maybe we could get a buy off this region right here to push to the upside. One thing that you also need to note is that the times have shifted. I know we always talk about the London market open happening at 11. So from this week, actually from yesterday, the London market open is now at 10. So the Frankfurt market open is now at 9. So even when you look at the economic calendar, you will see that there's already been some GBP news events that have just come out right now. So I guess we're back to remember what used to happen where we used to have news events happening at 9, and sometimes the session would start a bit late. So right now we're back to that all the way till I think November, because now the times have shifted. So make sure you take note of that. So we're talking about 9, 10, 3, and 4:30. So we will be waiting to see what happens. The numbers are showing that we should be expecting some strength to come in on the GBP. So let's wait and see what happens. Also remember, price can come back in all the way till within this region right here. And we'll still look for the buying opportunities if we do get an opportunity. But in case price breaks and holds beneath that region to the downside, then unfortunately, at that point in time, we'll end up falling back in terms of looking for buying opportunities. So the next one, this is the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities. So these are the three areas that we've mapped out. Price has come back in within a seller's region. Let's see if we can get a reaction of the sellers, hopefully at 10 during the London market open. So if we do get a sharp reaction, the buyers struggle. Can see that they're still quite adamant coming into this region right here. But at least if we do see them slowing down, then I guess we could get a very good sell off there just make sure that you watch out for this region. Definitely an area where you will need to manage your trade. And also watch out for the region at the top. Price can also breach and hold to the upside of this region. If it does, then I guess we'll have to look for the sells a bit higher up. But remembering that the level up there is going to be the last region where we will be attempting our aggressive selling opportunities. So the next one, this is the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities as well. So these are the three areas that our team has identified, potentially could be good areas to look for the sells. So watch out for these three areas right here. We could get price coming back in within this area. We do get a reaction of the sellers. Potentially, we could get a very good sell here, watching out for the times. So hopefully we could get that pullback coming in within this region. Also watch out for the region at the top right here. Definitely also a region where we could potentially get some very good sells. Alternatively, if the pullback doesn't happen and we get price coming to the downside of this region and we get a nice strong breach to the downside and the market actually holds to the downside of this area, then we could potentially get some very good selling opportunities at that point in time. So also watch out for that. So the next one, this is the euro against the Australian dollar. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So these are the three areas that we've identified. You can see that the pullback is coming in. It's somehow similar to the Great British Pound against the Australian dollar to some extent. They almost do look alike. So for this one, we'll be watching out to see what happens. Hopefully, we could get the market bouncing off this area here. So it seems like there's some sort of an SNR there, but we do need to see the buyers really push up aggressively. And at least if price is back in within here, you can see that to some extent there was some sort of a range that was starting to happen within this area. So at least if price comes back, holds above this region to the upside, potentially I think we could get a very, very good buying opportunity off this region here, but you'll definitely need to manage your trade somewhere higher up within this area. If we do break and hold to the upside, then you could keep up with the buying opportunities. So watch out for that. But also watch out for this area here. Definitely the last region where we will be attempting our aggressive buying opportunities. If the market breaks and holds beneath that region to the downside, then unfortunately there will be no trade for us. So last but not least, for the AUD pairs, we do have the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities. It also looks similar to the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc and the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. So these are the three areas we will be watching out for. You can see that the price has come up, the buyers have come up a bit strong. The sellers are starting to show up, but we can't quite say that these are the big boy sellers just yet. So let's see what happens when the market bounces off here, because it looks like that's where the buyers are, and potentially we could get the price attempting to come up. Maybe the big sellers might eventually now show up. Also watching out for the times, maybe during the London market open at 10 or maybe during the US session. So we'll just have to wait and see what ends up happening. But this is definitely a good region to watch out for the sells. We just need to wait and see if the big boys are going to show up. So also watch out for the region at the top. In case the market or price finds its way back here, you can't see that there are some big sellers who are sitting there. If price comes back in within that region and they do show up, then I guess it could also be time for us to actually end up taking those selling opportunities as well. So that's pretty much it in terms of the AUDs. So right now we're going to move on to the Canadian dollar pairs, mix and match them up with everything on the buy side. So we're going to start off with the Great British Pound against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So these are the three areas that we've mapped out where potentially we're going to be trying to see whether we can get our buying opportunities, and also areas where we can manage our trades. In terms of looking for the buys now, might not really be the best of ideas. So it's either the market breaks and holds above this region to the upside. And I mean, if we do get a nice strong breach to the upside, and we get a nice slow pullback coming back in within this region, we could definitely look for the buying opportunities there. But right now, let's give the sellers the benefit of doubt. We could easily find price coming back in within this area here. And if it does, this definitely seems like the best area to look for the buys, because if you look at what's happened before, the buyers definitely look to be somewhere within this region right here. But the good thing about it is that the market also looks to be making some sort of a channel going up. So at least if price comes back in, maybe somewhere as close as possible within here, maybe not all the way till within this region, but at least if we can get the prices somewhere down within this area here, I think we could get some very, very good buying opportunities. So just make sure that you do watch out for that. Also watch out for the region at the bottom. Definitely a region of interest for us. If price finds its way back there, we're still going to be watching out for buys, but we just need to make sure that we can get the market potentially still holding above there and we get a sign of the big boys showing up within that particular region. So the next one, this is the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities. These are the three areas that our team is watching out for. So right now, price is back down within some sort of a buyer's region, not really the best of areas to look for the sells. So we'll be hoping to see that we can get prices potentially breaking beneath this region to the downside. If that happens, then we could get the sell happening, but also during the London session, like we always point out, if price is holding within a region of support or resistance, there's a high probability during the market opening times, price can actually push itself off those regions. So right now, since we're just holding above support, there's a possibility you could find that during the London session, the London big boys might actually be pushing price back all the way till within this area here. And maybe during the US session from around 4:30, that's when you could find the prices back within here and you could find the proper sales happening off this region right here at that time. So let's just wait and see what happens. But definitely one thing is for sure, where price is right now is definitely not the best area in terms of looking for those selling opportunities. So moving on into the next one, this is the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, for today, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some sells. These are the three areas we've mapped out. It's similar to the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. So we'll be waiting to see if we can get the big boys, maybe the London big boys pushing price back in within this area here. If they do, then I guess we could get the sells within there. If that doesn't happen, then we'll have to wait and see if we could get the breach coming in. And you definitely could wait for a pullback. Maybe during the US session, price might actually pull back in within this region right here. You could get the sells happening off this area here. So we just need to be patient. But also for this one, in terms of looking for the selling opportunities, right now, based on where price is, might not really be the best of ideas. So moving on into the next one, this is the euro against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities, almost similar to the Great British Pound against the Canadian dollar. So price has gone up, come back in. It's done some sort of a probe within this particular region here. So I guess true SNR is definitely somewhere within this region here. And right now you can't see the pullback is coming in. Let's just hope that the pullback will come in somewhat as close as possible within this region, because it looks like buyers are sitting somewhere within this prices, somewhere within this area here. So if price comes back in within here, we get the market setting itself up properly. And also watching out for the times, I think we could get a very, very good buying opportunity somewhere off this region to push on the upside. So watch out for that. Also watch out for this region at the bottom right here. It's definitely the last area where we will be attempting our aggressive buying opportunities. If price comes back in within there, and it possibly can. The big boys can definitely want to incite more sellers to come into the market. And when the price comes back in within there, a lot of people are definitely going to be chasing the selling opportunities, and they won't be aware that the big boys are actually going in for a much better price. So just make sure that you also don't get caught up in that trap. So moving on to the last Canadian dollar pair. This is the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So these are the three areas that we've mapped out. So we will be waiting to see whether we can get price coming back in within this area here. Because right now where we are, we're more or less within a region where we do have some sellers and we don't sell. We don't buy where they're sellers. So let's give them the benefit of doubt. If they do push the market down, maybe during the London session, then maybe during the US session, there's a possibility price can be back in within this region here and we could get some proper buying opportunities. So just make sure that you watch out for that. But also on the other hand, let the big boys do the heavy lifting. If they do break this area to the upside, it's okay. You don't really need to feel bad or feel, some sort of FOMO because you missed out on this trade going up. Because if the market pulls back in within here, and the markets always give pullbacks, you'll definitely get a very, very good buying opportunity somewhere within this region here. So just make sure that you watch out for that. Also watch out for the region at the bottom. It's a bit of a long shot. But like we always say, it's better to have something and not need it rather than need something and not have it. So it doesn't really hurt end up having that level there. But remembering that's going to be the last year where we will be attempting our aggressive buying opportunities. So that's pretty much it for the Canadian dollar pairs. So right now we're going to move on to the NZD pairs, which are the last set of currency pairs. So we're going to start off with the Great British Pound against the New Zealand dollar. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So these are the three areas that we're going to be keeping an eye out to see what happens. Hopefully, we can get the market coming back in within here. You can see that the sellers have come in, the buyers are starting to react somewhere within these regions here. And like we always say, SNR is a region, so it's not a particular price. So that's the reason why we're highlighting this area. So it's somewhere within this region that we're expecting to see some sort of a reaction. And you can see that the reaction has started to come in, but there's still a possibility price might still come back in within this area. And watching out for the times, maybe we could get a very, very good buying opportunity within this area here. So let's just wait and see what happens. If you chase the buys now, like if you hit a buy here, then you put your stop loss somewhere within this region here or somewhere here, and you run the risk of actually getting stopped out before the market actually makes a move. So you're better off at least getting the buy where the buyers are. It increases the probability of your trades working out, number one. And number two, it also ends up increasing your risk to reward, because at least if you get the buys down here, then you have more to play with. If the market comes back within this area here and you have the buys and you get the buys down here, then at least you can definitely close your trade at a profit, because these minor levels can also come into play. So watch out for that. Also watch out for the region at the bottom. Price can find its way there. If the big boys need that price, then at least we will definitely also be ready for that as well. So moving on into the next one, which is the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities. So these are the three areas we will be watching out for. So hopefully you can end up taking note of them. So we'll be waiting to see what happens. You can see that there's already been some sort of a probe within this area here. So the market came down. You can see that the buyers came up aggressively and they're basically maintaining price above here. And you can see that there's also some sort of another minor probe that's happened within here, which tells us that there are definitely some buyers who are, camping ground within this region. So there's a possibility you could find price coming back in somewhere within this area here before we get the selling opportunities to happen. So I guess the best areas to look for the sells are here, but you also can't find price maybe even just coming back in within this area here. But generally somewhere as close as possible within this area, I think would be a good area to look for the sell. In terms of looking for the conservative sells, I think we need a proper breach to the downside. Then if we get the buyers slowing down and maybe even them attempting to push higher up above this region and maybe attempting to hold above there, and they end up being unsuccessful, at that point in time, we can look for the selling opportunities. So let's wait and see what happens. But generally, where price is right now might not be the best area to look for the buys, the sales just yet. So let's just wait and see what ends up happening. But also remember that you should also be watching out for correlation. So if you see one currency pair moving, try and have a look at the others to see if it's something to do with the NZDs or maybe the other currency pair that it's matched up against. So the next one, this is the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, we're also going to be trying to see whether we can get sells. Right now is not a very good place to look for the sells. We're so close within our buyer's region. So this one is almost similar to the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. So we are expecting to get some sort of a pullback. At least if we get that during the London session, maybe during the US session from around 4:30 prices back in within this region, then at least you could try to see whether we could get some sales off there. But also watch out for the region at the top. In case the pullback comes in a bit deeper, then at least we should also be ready for that. Alternatively, if price breaks beneath this region to the downside, just like I pointed out on the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc, and price holds beneath this region, maybe some attempts to break above here, which end up being unsuccessful, then at that point in time, we could try and see whether we could get some conservative selling opportunities. So moving on into the next one. This is the euro against the New Zealand dollar. So for this one, for today, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So these are the three areas we will be watching out for. So you can see that there's been some sort of a pullback coming in. Sellers up here seem to be reacting. You can see some sort of a sharp reaction, but let's see if they can slow down within here. And hopefully price should be coming back squarely back within this area. If it does, I think the best buys are definitely down within here. You can see that there was a push of the buyers to the upside yesterday of this region right here. So at least if we can get the prices somewhere as close as possible within here, I think this is definitely a good region to look for the buying opportunities. And like I pointed out, the risk to reward will be better. And at least you will be buying with buyers, because if you buy here, and even if you put your stop loss here, you might, even if you do survive that trade, let's say even if you really hide your stop losses all the way down to within this region, your risk to reward will be off, number one. Number two, even if you do survive the buy and the market goes up, I mean, you'll be held in drawdown for an extended period of time. And I mean, for your mental health, I don't really think that's going to be something that's really going to be very, very good. So let's just wait and see if we can get price coming back in within here. But also watch out for this region at the bottom. There's also a possibility, price can also find its way back there. If it does, then at least we should also be ready for that as well. So moving on into the last currency pair. This is the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So for this one, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities, selling opportunities. So these are the three areas that we've mapped out. You can see that price has already somehow reacted off here. So in the morning when we're looking at the charts, price was somewhere down within this region coming up. So already there's been some sort of a reaction within here. And I guess it's these sellers, who are sitting within here who are pushing the market down. So let's just wait and see if they can actually break this region to the downside. And the buyers within here, if they can slow down, you can see that the previous time when price was here, the buyers really pushed back the price quite aggressively and price held above here. And through a scenario is definitely somewhere within here. So we'll definitely be waiting to see what happens. But also remembering the fact that since the market is coming back in within a region where we do have buyers, the buyers can still push back again. And if we get price coming back in within this region here, maybe during the London session on the pullback, then during the US session from around 4:30 price is back here, then we could get some very, very good selling opportunities. So it's just a matter of exercising your patience and it should be fine. So let's wait and see what happens. Remember the red SNR at the top, definitely the last region we will be watching out for the selling opportunities or the aggressive selling opportunities, but also the last region where we will be attempting our aggressive sells. So that's pretty much it in terms of the currency pairs. So hopefully you've taken note of that. Also remember to take note of the times. The London market open has shifted. So right now we're looking at 10. So just make sure you adjust that. The Frankfurt market open is now at 9, not at 10. So sometimes when you're looking at the charts, you will find things moving. And also you will find that also on the economic calendar, the news events that used to come out from around 10 have now shifted. And you can't see that they're coming out at 9. So sometimes you will find that the sessions will be starting off a couple of minutes late, trying to factor those fundamentals into consideration. So that's pretty much it in terms of the currency pairs. So right now we're going to move on to the indices and the commodities. So we'll start off with the NAS 100 and the US 30, which are both on the sell side of things. So for this one, this is the NAS 100. These are the three areas we will be watching out for. You can see that there was a big dip of the market. This was on Friday. The market came down. Yesterday, the market was just struggling within here. It found some region of support down within this area right here. And you can see that the buyers have been pushing back. So this was during the US session. The Asian session, you can see that there is a match that has been going on. So what we're expecting is to possibly get price coming back in somewhere within this region here. If we get price coming back in within there, and we do get a sign of the big sellers showing up, I think we could definitely jump in on some very good selling opportunities within that particular region. So we'll be waiting to see if at least the buyers can actually struggle. Because, even looking at how price is reacting, we can see that the big sellers are not yet in the market. So there's this region, minus and now, that seems to be holding the market. But based on how the buyers have come in, the reaction of the sellers right there, it seems that the big sellers are not quite in. So we're waiting to see what happens. Maybe the buyers could just push up a little bit higher somewhere within this region, and at least maybe during the US, especially the New York session open from around 4:30, because that's when most of the time the indices tend to move a lot. Maybe we could get some very, very good selling opportunities out there to come to the downside. But also watch out for the region at the top. For as long as we're holding beneath that red SNR, we should be looking for selling opportunities. Remember that when it comes to the indices and the commodities, we're always 100% technical, but you will find the fundamentals will play a part in terms of affecting things, but mostly we do end up following the technical aspect of things. So moving on into the next one, which is the US 30. So for this one, these are the three areas that we've mapped out. For as long as we're holding beneath this red SNR to the downside, we should be looking for selling opportunities. You can see that also this one dipped down quite aggressively. This was on Friday. The market came down, found some sort of a support region within here. This one has pushed back quite deeper compared to the NAS 100. So we will be waiting to see if we can get a sign of the big sellers showing up somewhere within this region here. If they do, and the buyers, especially within this region, really do end up struggling, because there's some buyers within here who are pushing the market to the upside. Maybe the market might even come back all the way to within here, waiting to see at least the next push going up might be weaker than this. Then I guess if the market struggles within here, we could look for some very good selling opportunities within that area. So watch out for that. Also watch out for this region at the bottom. You will definitely need to manage your trade within there, but there are also quite a number of SNRs in between that you can definitely watch out for as the market comes down. But remembering that the main seller is definitely within the red SNR at the top. If price comes back within there, we're still going to be watching out for sales, but also remembering that in case price breaks and holds above that red SNR to the upside, then at that point in time, we will definitely start looking for buying opportunities. So moving on into the next one, this is silver. So for silver, we're going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So these are the three areas we've mapped out. So for as long as we're holding above the red SNR, our bias is to look for buying opportunities. You can see that yesterday the market came down. Lots of people were definitely fooled within this area right here. And that's the reason why we always point out that you always need to make sure that you get to see the break and the hold of the market on a particular region. So you can imagine within this area right here, all the people who did not wait for the pullback, to actually get confirmation that the market is holding to the downside. Unfortunately, when they hit sales within there, you can imagine what they're going through right now. So for this one, let's wait and see what happens. But this is also a good sign. It tells us that the buyers within this region are alive and well. So we'll be waiting to see if we can get a breach to the upside of this area here. If we get a breach and a pullback and a hold, then we could look for the buys, but don't look for the buys just yet, especially when price is holding just beneath that resistance area. You could easily find the market pushing to the downside and coming back in within this area. So we'll have to wait for a breach. If that doesn't happen, then we'll be waiting for the pullback to come back in somewhere within this region here. So make sure that you watch out for that. But like I pointed out, in case price breaks and holds beneath that red SNR to the downside, then we'll be waiting to see whether we can get some selling opportunities. So last but not least, we do have gold. So for gold has just been making new highs every week. You can see that yesterday it made a new high. Today during the Asian session, it's already gone up, made a new high. But we hadn't adjusted the levels and brought them up higher, and I still wouldn't do so just yet. Reason being, okay, in the morning when we're looking at the charts, price was somewhere within this area here. It was coming up. We first wanted to see whether the market was actually going to, hold to the upside, because this was the previous high. And right now, when you look at how the market is coming down and how it's bouncing off, we're not yet also quite sure whether this is going to be approved, because the market can still come back into the downside. We know that the buyer who's pushing up is somewhere within this region here. But at least one thing we do know for sure is that if we do get the buys within here, let's say you get some conservative buying opportunities, then your next area of where you should be targeting rather should be somewhere within this region right here. So even if you will be targeting higher, just make sure that you definitely do watch out for that region there. But there can also be a real shocker, coming in. So you could find that price can also come back in. If it does hold to the downside of this region, a pullback might come in, stop out lots of late buyers who are jumping into the markets. Then you could potentially find that after that, the market could potentially end up moving to the upside. So also watch out for that region there. and also this region down within this particular region right here as well. And also remembering that for as long as we're holding above that red SNR to the upside, the buyers should be to try to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. So hopefully you have taken note of that. And everything else we've discussed. For the guys who've checked in a bit late, that's what the watch list is going to be looking like for today. So looking at the chat box real quick. So I'm seeing Bravin. Good to see you there. Saying morning, John. Morning, Bravin. Good to see you. Hope you're well. I see Lyle, you're saying indices are in a short squeeze. Movement downward due to the new contract opening price rule is if a futures contract starts near the lows of the previous contract, then that low will be taken out. Then it will aim for the highs. Well, I guess that could be something. I can't quite say it's something that I've looked into, but I'll definitely look into it. But thank you so much for that line. Yeah, but to some extent, could be some sort of a squeeze. The way they did come down was quite aggressive. It wasn't quite expected per se, although it looks like the market was in some sort of downward trend coming down, got into some sort of a squeeze, within this area here, some sort of a pullback, went into buys, then came down. And you can see that the sellers did start off with a lot of, momentum somewhere within here. And I guess they picked up the momentum on Friday. So I guess we will be waiting to see what ends up happening, but the pullbacks are definitely needed. But wait and see what ends up happening. But to some extent, I do agree with your sentiments right there. Thank you so much for making the time to be here with us. Always happy to see you here. All right, so I guess that's pretty much it from me and from us. I'm not really seeing anything else. I want to thank you guys so much. I guess we'll see you guys tomorrow. Remember, if you do get any trades, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are there in the video description. Also, if you do need more information in terms of trading, also feel free to contact us. Our contact details are there. Also visit www.afriforex.com for more insights, more information. There should be, I think, a couple of seats left in the AMP for April. So also make sure that you do also end up signing up for that. If you do think you need more help in terms of your trading, of course. So if you go to the Academy section on our website, you will find all the information, all the offers that we do have as a company, and you're definitely free to pick whichever you find, whichever offers or combination you find necessary to take your trading to the next level. So feel free to also check that out. And of course, since there is no coercion, feel free to also contact us to find out exactly what the programs are. If what is on the website is not very clear. So I guess we'll see you guys tomorrow. So with that, happy trading, guys, and bye for now. May the peace be with you. God bless and happy trading.